This video goes with Section 11 of Hansen and Quinn's Greek and Intensive course and covers the recessive accent. You can refer to Hansen and Quinn page 9 for their coverage of the material, which they revisit in the appendix, pages 605 to 609. This video assumes that you've already taken in the video for Section 10, Rules for Accent. Click in the blue box now if you need to see it to review. The term recessive accent in recessive accent comes from the word recede, and it means that on Greek words that have recessive accent, the accent tries to go back, recede, as far as it can from the end of the word towards the beginning of the word. You'll remember that in the basic rules for accent, they tell you that the farthest back an acute can go is the third to last, the antepenult, and the farthest back a circumflex can go is the second to last, the penult. You'll also remember that if the last syllable is long, if it has a long vowel or diphthong in it, the situation changes. Acute can only go back to second to last, and circumflex has to change to acute if it's going to stay on the second to last. So in recessive accent, you look at the last syllable, and if it's short, you can have one of these possibilities: acute on the antepenult or circumflex on the penult. But if the last syllable is long, the farthest back possibility is acute on the penult. So keep those patterns in mind while I tell you that most verb forms have recessive accent. There will be exceptions, of course, but you'll learn those as we go. The easy thing to do with the recessive accent is simply look at the last syllable, the ultima. If it's short and the word has at least 3 syllables, the word will have an acute on the third to last, the antepenult. And if the ultima is long, the word will have an acute on the penult, the second to last. Examples now, using the Greek verb that means stop, from which we get the English word pause. Here we have epausa, which means I stopped. It has recessive accent, and so to decide where the accent goes, I look at the last syllable. It's short, so I count back 1, 2, 3, and put an acute over the antepenult, the third to last, and we get epausa. Another form of the same verb is epauso. You paused. We look at the last syllable, see that long omega, and we know that we can only count back 1, 2, and put the acute over the second to last syllable, the penult, epauso. It's like the last long syllable has extra gravity and pulls the acute towards it. Notice that I put it over the upsilon and not the alpha. That helps us to see that it's the diphthong ow and not 2 separate syllables, a, u. Let's keep going. Pausan means stop as a command. This word has only 2 syllables, so I need to remind you of that elaborate circumflex rule that says that if the last syllable is short and the second to last syllable is long, and the word needs an accent on the second to last syllable, then the accent must be a circumflex. Look at pausan. Because it's 2 syllables only, and because it has recessive accent, the word needs an accent on the second to last syllable. The question is, which one? But the last syllable is short, and the second to last is long. It has the diphthong ow. So when we count back 1, 2, you know that you've got to follow the elaborate rule for circumflexes and put a circumflex over the second to last. Pausan. But if you look at pause, which means you will cease, among other things, that last syllable is long with that eta, so we count back 1, 2, and it's not possible to put a circumflex on that syllable because of that long last syllable, so it will have to be an acute, pause. So let's put those reminders back up as we try a few more examples. These are all forms of the Greek verb for sacrifice. Let's start with thusato, which means let him or her sacrifice. We'll look at the last syllable, see that it's long, and count back 1, 2, and put an acute over the alpha and the second to last syllable, thusato. Thusata means sacrifice as a command. We see the last syllable is short, and we count back, recede, 1, 2, 3, and put an acute over that third to last syllable, thusata. Next we have thusan, which also means sacrifice as a command, but this time to just one person. Here we have only 2 syllables, so we need to check in with the elaborate circumflex rule. And this word has a short last syllable, a second to last that is long, which we know because of that nice macron or long mark that Hansen and Quinn gives us, but you could look it up in dictionaries if you meet this word in the wild. And so it does, in fact, meet the criterion for a circumflex on the second to last syllable. With thueto, which is another way to say let him or her sacrifice, the last syllable is long, so we count back 1, 2, and put an acute over the second to last syllable, thueto. Thua, another command version of sacrifice, has a short last syllable and needs an accent over the long second to last, so it must be a circumflex. With thueta, y'all are sacrificing, the last syllable is short, so we count back 1, 2, 3, and put an acute over the third to last and get thueta. Our last example is thuo, I sacrifice. It has a long ultima, so we can only go back 1, 2, and put an acute over the second to last syllable, thuo. That's what you need to know about recessive accent, and you should be able to put it into practice in drills and in class. You can now go on to the video for Section 12, persistent accent.